Hi, everyone, and welcome to another special live edition of the Ethicast, coming to you from Atlanta, Georgia, at the 16th Annual Global Ethics Summit. Before we get started, a big special shout out to all of our virtual attendees who are coming in from around the world. Everyone, we're so happy you're with us today, and we hope you have a wonderful time here at the summit. We have a terrific episode now because I'm here with Janine Yancey, CEO of Emtrain. Janine, thank you very much for joining the show.
Oh, happy to be here.
So I guess the first question I have for you is, how can companies get better information out of the training process? We hear so much about the training process, but Emtrain does a lot of really interesting work on how this is kind of like a bi-directional information exchange. I'd love to learn more about that.
Yeah, no, thanks for the question, Bill. So I'm a former investigator turned entrepreneur. So for me, it was like, okay, how can we listen while we learn?
Sure.
So the idea is you're already putting together programs. Everyone's used to the programs. And instead of it being a static experience, you're asking questions about what's going on in the trenches while people are learning. So embedding a little bit of pointed survey questions that feel like they're actually like a learning device. So no one thinks twice about it.
Yeah.
And they're giving you all this lovely information about what they do on their teams.
Fantastic. So how can compliance officers better communicate predictive assessments, especially to their leadership?
Yeah, so I think that this is a big opportunity for compliance officers and HR leaders as well to start to change their perspective of not lagging indicators, but leading indicators, and thinking about what their C-suite wants to hear about what's moving into the future. So, when they're shaping their message, their executive wants to hear what ratios, calculations, predictions, not just what they did in the past, not just like the static kind of reports and metrics.
Indeed. Now, not asking you to name names, of course, but do you have an example of what that looks like in practice? With the company you've worked with that actually took that advice and got some really meaningful results that helped to advance their program?
Exactly. I'm thinking about a client of ours, a national retailer, reported to the audit committee of the board. And saw, okay, this is some behaviors that we're measuring right now.
Yep.
It's going to lead to, and this is on the HR side of the house, lead to some employee relations issues.
Yep.
We need to focus our efforts, on these different districts to reduce those employee relations efforts. So it was all leading indicators, not lagging indicators, and predictive of what the behaviors are saying.
So how important is it for compliance leaders to truly get into the business and understand it? We talk about this an awful lot. I'd love to get your perceptions on this. We were talking about this before, but when compliance leaders are trying to embed themselves in the business and speak from the business, how do you see that?
So I think it's actually part and parcel of the other ideas we just talked about of listening to the behaviors and predictive analytics. When you do those two things, you start to understand the business better. And really, to be giving good counsel, good advice, you need to understand the business. You need to understand all the different divisions, departments, and what the business does so that you can understand these are the likely behaviors.
Sure.
Here's what I need to watch out for.
Yeah.
And then you're being a true partner.
Yeah. So the work that you do puts you in a really interesting position in terms of understanding the needs and wants and kind of aspirations of your clients and writ large the ethics compliance community. So I'd love to know, as you are helping your clients kind of reach their goals in terms of really effective training, really reaching their audience, have you picked up on any kind of larger trends regarding pinch points, pain points, areas where people, not just traditional, difficulties in trying to get better training, but like some glimpses on like what your future development might look like and what future solutions might look like?
Well, so certainly I think all of the companies we're working with are thinking about how they and we can incorporate AI to take care of some of the more manual tasks. So that's easy opportunity. And I think we're all moving forward on that.
Yeah.
Commonality really, I think, is, and where we play a part is how do they message some of the more difficult messages, right?
Okay,
so when they see some behaviors and they see some risks, a large part of our partnership with clients is we help deliver that message through the data, through the analytics.
Okay.
And sometimes we actually have those messages. As a former lawyer, I'm used to, outside counsel, used to having those conversations.
Sure.
I do that today in my role as CEO of Emtrain.
Okay, very nice. So using the data to kind of let the message tell itself through that, is that kind of the approach?
Exactly. And, this is classic. When some of the warning signs are coming from a team or a division where that leader is generating a lot of revenue.
Yeah.
That's always a hard message. And you can't do it with just anecdotal. I talked to someone on the, in the hallway, or I'm concerned, or I'm not. And that doesn't work. You need the actual data, and you need a clear message. And it's always helpful to have a neutral third party deliver that message.
Now, when I was talking to with your colleagues before, they were talking about this really fantastic concept of, ethics as a series of skills to learn, right?
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit more about that? Because there is sometimes a tendency or temptation, especially to people who are new to this discipline, to think of ethics as a inherent quality. Either you have it or you don't, right? It's either part of your character or it's not, but not as an area of professional development opportunities. So I'd love to hear a little bit more about your take on that.
Yeah, no, thank you, Bill. So we came up with we have a PhD of org psych on our staff. And we all collaborated and created a matrix of 16 skills. They're the culture skills. And thinking about it just in terms of, we're all on a journey and we're all developing these skills. So it takes a more clinical approach.
Yeah.
Especially when you're delivering messages. There's no good people and bad people. We're all just making our way in the world and trying to be, increasingly intentional and show up as our best selves.
Well, I love this concept of the 16 skills you can develop. Where can people go to learn more?
To our website. So emtrain.com, and there's a page on it with the culture skills.
Fantastic. Well, Janine, thank you so very much for joining us today. I really appreciate having you on the show. And thank you very much for the work that you're doing to advance business integrity for everyone.
Thank you, Bill. Happy to be here.
Everyone, this has been another edition of the Ethicast, coming to you live from Atlanta, Georgia at the 16th Annual Global Ethics Summit. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you again soon. Bye now.